I'm sorry to hear that. Have you tried installing Mozilla Firefox?
Firefox? Are you one of them furries or something?
No. Hello? Furries make the internets go. Is this just an innocent cute picture? Or is truth stranger than fiction? Hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and today I'd like to talk about furries, the internet, and the interesting relationship they share with each other. If you're not a furry, you may be quite surprised at how deeply embedded furries are on the internet. And I mean literally, like the actual fibers that stitch the internet together as we know it. The furry community is undeniably deeply rooted in the information technology sector and computers in general. For example, did you know that furries had their own dedicated internet service provider before the White House even had the internet? You see, at one point or another, a furry played a role in ensuring your Facebook post or login credentials were securely transmitted from your smartphone to the cloud. That might sound crazy, but it's not as far-fetched as you may think. Every day, at some point or another along the line, a furry was responsible for ensuring your data was successfully transmitted. And that happens as soon as you click send, or like, or subscribe, or whatever really. Allow me to explain. The internet is a very complex, yet simple thing when you get down to its basic fundamentals. Data is simply moved from one place to another, usually a web server, but the path said data takes is where things can get a little complicated. The data has to often travel through several routers before it reaches its final destination, as having separate, independent connections to every website and server in the world would essentially flood the planet in cables. These routers are sort of like the one in your home, only way bigger and much more powerful. Anyway, these routers and servers, just like any electronic device, are unfortunately suspect to failure. Anything from lightning strikes to a cable cut or a DDoS attack can take a router down. Depending on the damage done, a technician will have to intervene and either reroute data and/or repair the system as soon as possible. With how expansive and necessary the internet has become in modern times, these repairs are crucial to everyday life. So I reached out to actual furries who work in IT. Xander states that telecommunications as a whole, which encompasses the internet, is in a constant state of failure and just in time fixes itself. All modern communication would cease function and collapse if about 50 people, most of which are furries, decided to turn off their pager for a day. That would land us in some serious trouble, if you know what I mean. Get on with it. Now, I haven't been able to verify this as fact, but if comments and the like ratio are of any indication, this could very well be more fact than fiction. Soatok states that roughly 3 out of every 10 websites runs on security code he wrote. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Cyberdyne Bullpine wears many hats including web software engineering, system administration, nanotech research, and more. An anonymous fur reports he's an infrastructure programmer for a major North American telecom. Remember what I said earlier about those routers? Yeah. Tide the Saber is a nearly 2-decade system analyst. Backspin Fox manages the head-in at their local DQ. Asunria owned and operated a regional internet service provider, which took years off their life. Yeah, no one said IT was a cakewalk. It can get pretty stressful. And Ali Avali works for the government, managing... Wait, what the...
Watch your mouth, Mr. Folf.
Y'all are just mad that furries run the internet! Anyway.
So, Face Rig Stormy here, and I just found out another anonymous furry is an engineer for YouTube's content delivery network. We have furries that work at YouTube. So, thanks Anonymous Furry for keeping the YouTubes going.
You see my point. Furries dominate the information technology industry. I guess you could say we're an unstoppable force? So why do furries love working in IT so much? In my opinion, most identifying furries are shy and introverted. We prefer working in very small groups or independently. In many IT fields, you're working solo, especially in professions like coding. So naturally, there's kind of a draw for introverts like myself, except I don't do coding. And there are many introverts in the fandom. And with so many furries in this industry, this has led to groups like DEF CON Furs. Furries have also left a considerable mark in computer history. Going back to the days of bulletin board systems, Furry Muck is one of the oldest, longest-running online role-playing games in existence, dating back to 1990. And in late 1993, Tiger Den Internet Services was launched, predating the launch of WhiteHouse.gov. That's right, furries were in cyberspace before the president was. But let's go even further. Anyone familiar with Linux is aware of Tux, their cute, flightless mascot. But did you know that their mascot could have been a fox at some point? In 1996, a furry named Nanimoose submitted a drawing of a fox woman to the Linux logo competition in hopes of representing the likeness of Linux. It lost, but traces can still be found in an antiquated set of graphics libraries called the Fox Project. During that same year, Silicon Valley business Taos sponsored Conference 7, placing ads in their schedule book. Back then, it was much more challenging finding qualified applicants for fields like system administration or DevOps. Actually, IT in general was in heavy demand, and at the time, sites like LinkedIn were but a pipe dream. They were desperate for talent, and soon after Conference 7, they were flooded with applicants. 40 new hires were the result of Taos' advertising relationship with Conference. They hit the jackpot. Going back to social media, Swift on Security, a Twitter user who focuses on InfoSec, has a relatively large following and loves to throw around the occasional furry message, leading many to believe they're actually a furry themselves, or at the very least, supporting the fact that furries actually make the internets go. Most of their responses also seem unopposed or neutral to these statements, further supporting the validity of these claims. The internet itself is in a constant, perpetual state of failure. It may not seem like it, but things are always breaking somewhere in cyberspace, and in a data center somewhere, a furry fixed things. A squirrel bites a fiber optic cable, and another squirrel with anthropomorphic characteristics temporarily reroutes data. The repairs typically happen so fast that most end users will never notice. Hopefully they're grounded though, since fur can build up static electricity, right? That would be bad. But yeah, furries. Whether you love them or hate them, they run the internet in more ways than most people realize. But do they run the internet in its entirety? Yes and no. We need only go so far as to look at popular IT social media and consider their mostly positive reactions to furries to get a feel for how represented they must be. Of course, this heuristic doesn't mean most employees in, say, InfoSec are furries. Not everyone uses Twitter. If anyone has more useful data or anecdotes, please feel free to leave a comment below. But let's assume this is fact. Even if those furries could be replaced with new employees, that takes time. They'll have to undergo training, familiarity with the system, and so on. Any interruption to the internet, especially on a global scale, could rack up billions in business losses, from places like Amazon to even your favorite fursuit makers. The financial damage would be of epic proportions. Even the shortest outage could have a serious impact. Someone out there is relying on the internet every single waking moment. And if that's not bad enough for you, consider that our phones are extensions of the modern day internet. Even old telephone lines are converted digitally somewhere nowadays. It's all interconnected. In today's world, they're all flavors of what's called voice over IP. Mobile radios and walkie-talkies are going VoIP as well. And short of going analog, amateur radio, or writing letters, you can't really escape it. If every furry knock text suddenly disappeared, that could leave the digital world open for attack in a very, very bad way. No internet, no phone. Internet-connected power grids are affected. Not to sound all paranoid, but that could be a very real scenario without people to ensure the stability of cyberspace, many of which are furries. And I'm not even including technicians who have yet to accept or understand that they may be a furry. There are likely far more of us than we'll ever know, at least for now. Even if you don't like furries, consider that the fate of the internet is in the hands of, well, just a handful of people. A very special thanks goes out to Soatok for helping me with this video. If you're an IT employee that's been impacted by layoffs, or you just want to learn more about joining the field, head on over to his webpage in the description below. But yeah, do you think furries really run the internet? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to this channel, or you just enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, maybe subscribe. Check out my Patreon for perks like early access, deleted scenes, and more. Anyways, I'll see yous all next time. Bye bye!